to Iraq on deployment before, and I was the chief of logistics for the Iraqi security forces in Baghdad. We'll talk a little bit about that. I'm going to show you, so my uniqueness today is I will help you bridge the gap between how we look at leadership in the military, and I'm going to apply it to your business, okay? And that's where I think you're going to get some bang for the buck, because you're going to see the similarities as I talk. I'm going to talk from the military perspective, and they spend 25 years educating us, okay, and being students of leadership. Are we perfect at it? Absolutely not. But for example, I am currently enrolled, and you'll hear me talk about always study your craft. Study your craft. Your craft is this business, right? How do you study? How do you get better? You come to the events. We are an event-driven organization. You have to come to the events. For those of you who've been here less than 30 days and you raise your hand, congratulations. You're going to hear story after story about folks who went to their first convention in Vegas and they'd only been here 60 days. And now they're MDs, SMDs, CEOs. Study your craft. For example, 25 years in the Army, as if I don't have enough to do, I got selected for the Joint Forces College out of Virginia. So currently, and I actually spent an hour on this last night, I'm enrolled in a Joint Combined Warfare School, which operates at the senior-most levels of the U.S. military, not just the Army. In my class, we have Army, Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard, and Marines. We have all branches of service. And what they do is teach us how to strategically operate in what we call a joint force environment. Now, again, start putting this back into your business. How is it you're going to operate as a leader, as an SMD? You're going to hear me use the term SMD a lot, right? Because that's where you start running your base shop and you start understanding overrides and generations and really start to grow your business from there, right? And I always joke, and you'll hear me say, everything above SMD is just a cooler SMD, right? EMD is a version of SMD. CEOMD is a version of SMD. The titles get cooler and cooler and cooler as you go, right? And the bonus opportunities, the bonus pool opportunities. But SMD is that premier title in the organization. On the WFG side, I have been in the organization for 19 years. I'm going to show you 2 slideshows today real quick. One is going to be on the technology platform. One thing we believe in, and why you heard me say I'm not going to teach you how to recruit and build because you have the best of the best of the best in this room that will teach you that. We are a business platform. That's all the home office is for you. Folks like me work for you. On paper, Joe thinks I work for him. But who do I really work for? I work for you. When you come to that home office, that is your building. That infrastructure belongs to you. Everything we do in there, that building is 100% dedicated to you. That's why you don't have to have servers, infrastructure, the technology that we have to have. I'm going to show you how we do that. So I want you to understand that we are a business platform. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer. So what I do is I take all the business goals, all the missions, the values, everything we're trying to achieve in 2017 and beyond. You heard Joe talk about looking forward to 2020. We figure out how to package that and stay ahead of that growth. This company grows, guys, 10, 20% is nothing for this organization. We say we're not government work, we grow 3%, right? We grow 10, 20% every year, compounded. So our job is to figure out how do we stay ahead of something like that. And technology is the way we've got to be able to manage this. We're paying over $700 million in commissions out to you guys. And I always say, well, how much of that was yours? So think about that. That's a real organization. When you have your doubters out there saying, is this thing real or not? How many other organizations paid out $720 million to you, to the field force, right? That's a lot of families. What that represents is your ability to help families out there. So let's talk a little bit first about technology and how we use it. So you know we have, and I'm going to ask you one favor. I'm going to go fast because I have 2 presentations. My wife's sitting in the back. I'm going to tell you, I want to reach out to your heart a little bit on the second presentation. Some of the pictures in that presentation, just because you are you. And I want to thank Rob and Jeff and Greg and those guys for having me here to speak to you. I'm going to show you pictures my wife has never seen from my time in Baghdad. Because it's special to me, but that's where I want to yank your heart out of your chest and ask you to reflect what leadership means to you. Because I want to share with you what it means to me. first we're going to talk a little bit about websites and home office platforms. So it is a platform for you, and it's a pure technology platform. The good news is we have one administrative system. It's called Compass. You may have heard of it. And that thing is built for you and built for you only. It is the most unique admin system in the entire industry. It's not a life insurance company admin system, I can tell you that. Because life insurance companies don't deal with hierarchies and generations and all that. It is extremely complex. And it is loaded. And we can customize it anytime we need to continue to help facilitate its growth. And from that admin system is where you have things like MyWFG. All of you are familiar with MyWFG. It is that communications portal you go to retrieve information you need to help you run the business, whether it's retrieve event information or retrieve individual and specialized reports. So that MyWFG is part of the power of the platform. Having Transamerica behind us helps us power that platform, gives us the resources we need to help power that platform. So when you look at the platform, if you look at technology, it starts there. You start with your primary admin system, which we have full control and ownership of, and then it kind of grows from there. One of the things now, this slide, there's a lot going on this slide, but it's the most important slide on this particular piece of my presentation. Anybody ever heard of Salesforce?
Yes.
The #1 CRM in the world, right? Would you guys like to have access to Salesforce?
Yes.
You're about to have access to Salesforce. What I'm about to tell you, actually, we haven't even told the majority of the field yet. We've told some of the top leadership, so congratulations. I'm about to spill the beans to all of you at the same time. And I think you're going to enjoy this. And you can tell everybody else, ha ha, if you had John at your event, you might know this too. So here's the deal. So in Salesforce, we are in partnership and business with Salesforce, and we're getting ready to roll it out live. We're not talking months from now, we're talking weeks. Okay, certainly not a year from now. So what we're doing is, and I just wanted to show you the scope. Salesforce is built around the concept of clouds. It's all cloud-based technology. And you want to know that your home office is wondering how it is we're going to build the infrastructure to support all these commissions that's going out to the field. You want to know how it is we're doing this. We're into the technology, okay? We're into the cloud technology. So Salesforce, you have a service cloud. The service cloud is what's handling right now a lot of our back office workflows. One thing you'll find about us is we don't invest in technology unless it's field facing. We started with Service Cloud, which helps us get the platform up and going in order to serve you. What I mean by that is the concept of host and some other things. Some of you probably noticed that we did change how you interact with the home office, especially at the base shop level, okay? From what we call 17 and down, so to speak, right? Now, there's a reason for that, and we didn't do it without giving you something in return. So some people saw it as, I can't contact somebody directly every day like I used to if I'm below SMD. That is partially true, depending upon how you look at it. So we ran the stats and found out that literally, and I'm not making this up, 90% of our calls were base shop, not even level 20 SMDs. It was below SMD. 85% of that 90% of the calls, guess how our host reps were answering the calls? They were sitting there on MyWFG answering your call. That's what they were doing. The same thing you have access to. What we also found out that was half of those calls were things like, I forgot my password, can you help me out? I don't know, not in this group, of course, but we got calls like, I don't know who recruited me, could you remind me? I don't know my code number, could you remind me? My recruiter hasn't called me back. I think I'm in the business, I'm not sure. I sat on the calls. I sent in my appointments 20 times. Did you get one of them? We're like, okay, first of all, that's online. Why do you keep sending us fax? It is 2016 after all. Now it's 2017. You're still faxing us stuff. And I know people like to think, you know, well, I'm old school. I'm like, well, okay, old school's out of school at this point, right? Y'all notice that? If you don't have a cell phone, you're probably not even communicating with your kids nowadays, right? I have to text my kids just to get them to come down to dinner. So, and you know they're not going to answer the phone if you call them on a cell phone. You know that's not happening. I figured out real quick what unlimited texting meant. And so it's the generation, right? It's the technology. It's the only way we're going to propel our business. Otherwise, we'd have a home office full of 500 post reps just answering those calls. Now, the reason why that was a problem was because SMDs will come up to you and say, you know, I'm trying to run a business here, and I can't get a hold of anybody. We're like, well, because you're in the queue. You're in the line with somebody who doesn't know their password. So what we did is we had to kind of just rethink it a little bit, you know? We had to say to SMDs, look, we need to get to the point where at the base shop level, they need to come to the SMDs. They need to come to that base shop for that support. They need to be directed to MyWFG. Now, in exchange, I want you to look at where it says Service Cloud. What we did was, and we're about to go live with it, we're starting to publish what we call knowledge articles. These things are going to pop up automatically when you go into MyWFG, into the help tool. You're going to start keying in what your question is. It's going to actually pop up articles. It's going to pop up the answer. It's going to pop up field manual responses. It's just going to proactively pop it up. And it's going to be available to you 7/24, which is not something we have today. So in exchange, what we're basically saying is we still want to communicate. We still love you guys, right? We still just have to love you a little differently, that's all. We have to get to the point where we got to figure out how we want to keep this thing growing, how we want to focus on those SSDs and up that are really trying to get those base shops running, right? Get them going. So that's one of the ways we do it, through the cloud technology and through Salesforce, starting with that Service Cloud. Now, it doesn't mean, though, that SMDs, when you call the home office, instead of hosts, we're trying to get away from this whole call center concept. We have what we call the base shop support team. The base shop support team actually are going to be highly qualified, even higher than the formerly known as host reps, to answer your calls. You still, as an SMD, will have access to those individuals. But now you'll have direct access. Oh, and guess what? We moved them out from a central call center concept, split them out into the production groups. So you no longer have to, when you call that person, they're like, oh, let me put a case in for you, and then we'll get right back to you. You guys experience that? Well, instead of just putting in a case, you're going to be talking to the actual production unit that does it. We revamped the whole IVR system, the phone system, so that when you call in, it's going to ask you what it is you're calling for, so we can route you to the exact place you need to be to get the exact answer you need to be able to continue to grow your business. Do you see how what we've done to try to enhance our ability to help you? And you still have at EMDs and above, you have click to chat, where you can actually do the chat function online, and you still have the ability, once you make CEO, you get a lead partner, you get a dedicated person by name, okay, to help manage and facilitate your business. That's how we help people like all the CEOs really grow their business, because now they're starting to get really wide, okay? So that's a little bit about how we started. Now, you get into partner community. I'm just going to race through this real quick. On partner communities, you have contact databases, customer. Now, here's what I want you to start thinking about. When you bring somebody into the business now, isn't everybody really a consumer first? And you really want them consumers for life. So at Transamerica, what we're trying to say is, we want you for life. So what we're going to do is, through the partner community, which you see in parentheses, I put CRM Lite. All licensed agents are going to have access to what we call CRM Lite. It's an ability for you to have a contact database and a customer profile for everybody you come in contact with. Right now, you probably manage that through your own little local software application. You generally don't have a Salesforce because it's way too expensive at the local level, if that makes sense. We do it at the enterprise level to give you that access. Or you keep it on Post-it notes or in a Steno notebook. You're trying to, you have to think, how do you track your clients and customers right now? And in the future, you'll be able to use this management system to be able to do that. You'll be able to do what we call managing the opportunities. You'll be able to do the reminders for life events and annual reviews. You'll have this system proactively tickle you when it's time to do an annual review. Tickle you when you have clients that have birthdays coming up. In other words, the system is going to complement you, by no means replace you, but complement your efforts. Do some research on CRM, because that's what you're about to get, and you'll understand in more detail what it means to you. Now, dip below that, and you have full seat CRM. If you're a registered rep, okay, how many registered reps do we have with TFA? Absolutely outstanding. I encourage all of you to work toward becoming a registered rep. You're going to have full seat CRM, book of business and engagement opportunity dashboards, reports, analytics, actively managed event trackers, and all kinds of stuff that full up, very expensive CRM seat management allows. That's reserved for our registered reps. So you have Life License, we'll have the CRM Lite registered reps after that. Because what we're trying to do is give you the ability to first you bring everybody in as a consumer and a customer for life. You track the policies or the ways you've helped. Let's just say it's the ways you've helped. Because remember, we don't sell life insurance, do we? We help families. Life insurance is just a vehicle, okay? You're going to be able to track how you help those families on CRM Lite. You're going to be able to go from there with that. And you're going to be able to build that customer for life. Some of them will say, I'm really interested in this business. I want to be a prospect. I want to sign something that says, I'm in this business. This is for me. Some people will always be a customer. So when today you're saying to yourself, well, how do you separate those? They're kind of hard to separate in some sense. Now you're going to have literally a channel for nothing but consumers and customers, a channel for prospects, and then a channel for you guys as licensed reps. A prospect to a licensed rep is just the only difference is you get a license, right? So when you talk about it that way, you'll see that it going into the marketing cloud where it talks about journeys. We have journeys for consumers, life license agents, and securities registered reps. Journeys. Journeys in Salesforce means we take you on a different path to success. What is your journey as a consumer? It may be how many times you interact with them, how many reminders are you given. This is all system generated. We generate emails, texts, videos. This stuff can go out automatically to your consumers and to you simultaneously without you even having to do anything. We set these customers up on a journey to keep them reminded that Transamerica is here for life for you. Same thing on the prospect side. We keep sending out those reminders about licensing. We send out reminders about, have you watched the video lately? Have you been to this event? Don't forget this event is here, or here, or here. Right now you guys do that by what? You generally text, email. One guy I was talking to the other day said his carrier actually called him. He was texting so many people, they classified him as a business account on his texting and wanted him to upgrade to $500 a month as a business account texter. What we're going to do is we can eliminate all that if you're doing it through the Salesforce environment, through the channels. We're getting field feedback, by the way, when we're building this. We're not doing it in a vacuum, okay? What we're trying to say is what's important to you when you bring somebody into the business to get them into that licensed environment, to get them to helping families, and that's how we're going to build the channel. So the Marketing Cloud helps us set up those journeys. And then the last one is Salesforce Shield. That's like mega encryption technology. It's boring stuff to you, but it's there to show you that it's the real deal, okay? It is rock solid, approved by any regulator you can think of. The last slide I have for this, I just wanted to show you, especially those of you who are just joining us maybe in the past 6 months or so, who we deal with. When you start bundling everything we're going to be capable of doing in the future, everything, by the way, everybody's heard this term DOL. You've probably read about it. Some people have been scared about it. Hey guys, I got news for you. Your company is not taking the ostrich approach where you duck your head in the sand and just hope it goes away. Just because you have a new president-elect, somebody's like, oh, we're going to have to still do it. What are we going to do? You know, if you've been reading the papers, a lot of businesses are what? Getting out of business. A lot of agents are what? Trying to figure out what their next move is. What are they going to do? If you look at it right, this is an opportunity for all of you in this room because your organization is going after it head on. We're going to develop this situation with consumers. It's the whole reason why we're doing what you hear me talk about. Remember this because you're going to hear more about it later. Consumers, prospects, agents, right? And how we're going to take that journey together. It's not actually going to mess up the way you do business now. It's just going to get you to paradigm shift a little bit about how you think about it, okay? That's how we're going to go after it to make sure that those clients have the most suitable recommendation possible and that what we do is in their best interest. That's the key to DOL. Your organization is going to go after it. We're not scared of it. We're not going to shy away from it because we don't shy away from helping families do it.
Nope.
That's why we're here. This is how we're doing it. Morningstar, DocuSign, all that electronic signature stuff you guys are doing. We don't want people signing stuff. I mean, that's like so 2014. Who does that stuff? Who signs apps? Okay? Don't worry, we're getting our BD caught up, right? I'm going to pull them in. I'm going to say, all right, we got to quit. You got too much paperwork going on there. Whenever we do a sale, we got to work on this. We're going to do all that. George Chung he pulled me to the side one day. He said he's absolutely committed to doing that. So you should feel good that your senior leadership, Joe DePaula, George Chung, those guys, Victor Sanchez, they are loaded for bear trying to make it easier to do business, easier for you to help families. And you see Krug, Laser App. These are the biggest and the best brands in the industry. Okay, so let's load up leadership real quick. I need 2 volunteers who are veterans. I only need 2. I need you to run up here real quick. 2 veterans. I got 1, I got 2. Perfect. How many people in the audience? How many of you are veterans? Okay, good. Thank you for your service. All right. Okay, you guys ready? I'm going to get your heart racing a little bit. I want to pound your chest a little bit. So get ready. Buckle your seatbelt because I got 13 minutes to race through 30 slides. Don't worry, most of them are pictures. Okay? Here's where I want to start. If you'll move over here, please. Okay. Who did you serve with? Sweet. Army Ranger, and then something happened and he went Coast Guard. Okay? I have a Coast Guard guy in my class right now at the Joint Force College. An outstanding individual. A lot of people don't understand Coast Guard. It's a phenomenal service. What about you?
A veteran WG.
He's a veteran WG. No, you stay right here. Actually, he's going to play to my whole presentation very well, because sometimes in WFG, you have the same battle scars as we did in Baghdad. I'm going to explain that in a minute, okay? So, here's what we're doing. So I got an Army Ranger here, fellow Army guy, and I have a WFG veteran who's got just as many scars as we do, probably. Emotionally and physically. Leadership, guys, is your choice. You're not birthed with it. You're not given it. You choose to do it. We all have fancy, cool titles. Even SMD. Hey, what's up? I'm an SMD, right? Are you a leader? That's for somebody else to answer, not for you to answer, right? What's leadership about? Everybody else. It's the people you serve. The answer comes from them before it comes from you. This presentation, by the way, is hard for me just because we're humble servants. We don't always outwardly project. We certainly don't talk about military service. It's not about gunfighting at the end of the day. It's about spreading democracy and nation building. I'm going to show you some of that in a minute. It's as hard not to pull the trigger as it ever is to pull the trigger. Think about that in your business. The next time you get really emotionally charged in an event or with an individual that's not performing to your satisfaction, are you pulling the trigger? Are you going off on them? Or have you built the relationship where they understand that you have demands, but you're not demeaning them? You demand, you never demean individuals. We're going to talk more about that in a bit. But in the military, here's what we say. There's only one reason why we do it. You could say 2. In the Army, we wear the flag on our right shoulder. So we used to come up with all kinds of reasons. People would say, why do you do this, John? Why have you been in 25 years? What is it you get out of it? Well, you find that the Army is who you are. It's just a part of who you are every day. It makes up your composite, okay, of who you are. And you study it. And you study the intensity of it. And you, at the end of the day, you're doing it for the flag on your right shoulder. That's why you do it. The other answer, and you'll get it no matter who the service is, is why I joke if you're Coast Guard, Air Force, Marines, Navy, Army, or a WFG veteran, right? There's one reason why we're in the military. And you'll hear us all say it, and you'll all hear us do the same head nod. It's for the person on our left, and it's for the person on our right. Is that not the way it is in your business?
Yes.
Yes.
Aren't you in business for the person on your left and the person on your right?
Yes.
Yes.
And would you do anything for those individuals to be
Yes.
successful? And would they do anything for you? That's going to be the key as we talk here for the next few minutes. Thank you both, gentlemen. I appreciate your service. That person is yourself. Yes, these pictures are my personal experiences. They're not off Google, okay? That's actually me with my new best friend, right? I don't know how I got that picture. By the way, this was a few years ago before iPhone, so I was using a little Nikon sure shot deal, right? So a friend of mine took that picture of me and the basic transportation in the desert, which is, i.e., Mr. Camel. Each leader has their own unique style. You lead yourself better, and you'll lead others better. Start with yourself. Choose to lead with yourself. Lead with the heart and the mind. It is a struggle. You should struggle. You should enjoy the struggle. Embrace the struggle. You ever heard of, it's easy, there's all kinds of cliches out there. It's easy to do the right thing, not the easy thing. You've heard that, right? If nobody's looking, do you still bend down and pick up the piece of paper and throw it in the trash? Or do you ever seen people like this? They'll go pick up something, they see the litter. It's a good little simple example. They're like literally looking around, make sure people see that they're all about smoking there or Mr. Litter cleanup, and they're like, yeah, that's right, I'm cleaning up the environment. So they'll throw it away. They have to be seen. Are you a leader that needs to be seen? Or are you a leader that's leading, truly leading your folks? Recognition comes with leadership, guys, by default. It's an important part of leadership to recognize your folks. That's why we have the gala events. That's why it was so good to see you guys on stage last night. It's an important part of what we do. But you should struggle every day with what's right in your heart and in your mind, and try to rectify the two. And don't be embarrassed that you're struggling with what is the right thing to do. It's like when you ask somebody, I'm not really sure what the right thing to do is. You ever had those situations? Servant leadership, humble, 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 and leaders always eat last. In the military, the officers do not eat first. We are the last ones in the chow line, literally. We will not eat before our soldiers. Have you given up on your base shop? Is your base shop taken care of? Do they know how to eat? Do they know how to get to the events? Do they know how to take care of their people? Why are they calling the home office? Because they don't know who their upline is. Do they have a leader?
No.
If they do, it's nowhere to be found. Leaders eat last. Take care of your people first. Meet my base shop. This was my base shop in Baghdad. I had my own little base shop. I called them a base shop. They're like, what in the world are you talking about? I was like, man, I'm WFG, brother. I might be in the middle of Baghdad, but at the time, I remember I yelled at one guy. I said, you remember the whole got milk? I said, you got BUL? So it was, it's like, dude, what's wrong with you? So this was, I'm going to tell you, when I got there, they yanked me from my group that I was there with and put me in charge. I was with the active duty 4th Division, 4th ID, out of Fort Hood, Texas, northern Colorado. Let me tell you, these guys are studs. And they pulled me out and they said, we want you to work with us to work with the Iraqis, the Iraqi National Police, the Iraqi Army, and the Iraqi police. So you basically have the Army, the Highway Police, and the city cops. It's kind of how we look at it. And we had to build their logistics infrastructure. And we went outside the wire every day to do that. Okay? These are the guys that went with me. If you look real close, some of these guys are pretty young. I would do anything for these guys. They would do anything for me. Ask yourself, what are you willing to do for your base shop? The big thing is you got to lead a team. You got to learn how to be led first. When you're in these events, when you're just joining the business, less than 30 days, less than a year, you got to be willing to learn. I can tell you right now, I just talked to, I think it was Mike Wilson, one of these guys we were just talking to. We said, man, business is going good. How's everything going? I get the same answer from these CEOs who are really, really good every time. The same answer. And he gave it to us again this morning. Joe and I were standing there. And he said, that was Mike, right? That we were talking to. And he said, oh, I'm just getting started. I'm just getting started. I'm just getting warmed up. I'm just trying to figure out where I want to go from here. That is the answer you want to hear from CEOs who still have the fire in their belly. From anybody, EMDs, SMDs. If you want to know how to stay in this business, talk to somebody who's been at it for a few years, have done it year after year after year after year after year, and ask them how they keep the fire in their belly. Well, the fire in their belly is when he responded and said, oh, I'm just getting warmed up. I had a great cash flow year, I had this, I had that. I'm just getting warmed up. I'm just starting. My team is just starting. Lots more families to help. You'll get that from the Jeff Levitans, the Rob Days, the Greg Cass, the people who still have the fire in their belly. You heard Jeff say, I've tried to retire, it doesn't work for me. He's still got the fire in his belly. You have to win as a team and lose as a team. You have to build and develop as a team, trust as a team, believe as a team. What you see right here, now look at this. This might seem simple to you, but these are mechanics who for the first time, we taught them how to actually change the engine. These are Iraqi mechanics, changing the engine in a Humvee. The reason why they weren't able to do it before is they didn't have the parts and the training to do it. When you live under a dictatorship, you're not generally trained to do that kind of stuff. Are you a dictator to your SMDs? Or to your base shops? Is that why they're calling us every day for stuff like, I don't know who my upline is? Do you see where I'm going with this? These are mechanics. They were very proud of the fact they could change the engine out of that Humvee for their Iraqi army brethren. What that means is they could self-fulfill their destiny and their direction. This was us before we were ready to leave. Beautiful sunny day, Hurlbury Airfield, Florida, on an Air Force base. Army guys know what's up with the Air Force. They have the best facilities, so we did our departure ceremony at an Air Force base. Everything's hunky-dory. This is before we were getting ready to test ourselves as a team. Courageousness. Be courageous. Have the courage to act on your convictions. What is the right thing to do? Define what that is to do. And be courageous. Be able to do it. Demand, don't demean. We talked about that. There's a big difference. I can demand things from my people because I have built a trust and a relationship from them. If I haven't built the trust yet, what am I just doing to them? I'm demeaning them. Once you demean someone, good luck trying to get them back onto you as a leader. And if you guys ever gotten into a situation where like, I can't believe they disrespected me like that. Haven't we all been through that? And once you start throwing around the term disrespect, you're pretty much done with whoever that leader was, right? Then you start looking for, hey man, that base shop's cooler than my base shop, I'm gonna go over there. Okay, then it just starts unraveling from there, okay? Demand, don't demean. Come up with your personal battle rhythm, invest in your people. Remember in the Army, we say mission first. People always. I love when people say the most important thing we have is people. Okay, congratulations, I got it. That's a low-hanging fruit answer. Mission first, people always in everything you do. They shouldn't have to be, you shouldn't have to note them as a priority. They should always be your priority. It's a default. This is where I lived when I first got there. It's about the size you think it is. About 4 by 4. Remember this pretty scene here in a minute. I'm going to show you a different one. I'm going to run a little bit over. So this is where I lived for quite some time. Thank gosh that little air conditioner is in there because it was 115 every day before I put on the body armor. Before I put on, it was 50 pounds of body armor. Yes, we did sleep with our weapons. Now, look at this. This is, you can't see them, but there's guys in the back of that truck. Those are National Police people. They're in the back of that truck about to go on a mission. This is who we dealt with. So I show up and we're about ready to train them, and you got a pile load of people in the back of the truck. Because they're just starting their journey to democracy, their journey to success. By the way, I don't care what any politician says, those people dream like we do, and they own their country, and they're going to be just fine. You watch. Because let me tell you something, this is where it gets a little emotional for me. I'll never forget talking to an Iraqi 2-star general. And I said to him, he was in full uniform, and I was a major at the time. I said, sir, he had broken English, I didn't hardly speak his language at all, but I had a little bit. I could throw some words in there once in a while. I said, why do you do this every day? I just wanted to hear his answer. And he said, John, and I worked with him all the time. I do this every day because I dream of something better for my family. Does that not sound like the business to you? Yeah. He wore a uniform. Check this out. He wore civilian clothes to the base. Then he would have to change into his uniform. The reason why he had to wear civilian clothes is in a uniform, you're literally a walking target. Can you imagine getting up every day, going to the office, and you might as well just be wearing a target on your back? That's what I was too. Even more so, right? In some respects. But for him, it was every day. I knew at some point I was going back home, and my family was back home too. I was out there, just me. His whole family was centered around the fact he wore civilian clothes and then had to change when he got to work. He dreamed of democracy. He dreamed of a better life for his kids. He dreamed of something they could have that he never had. He was only hoping to taste it. And we were there to help him taste what that was. Your base shop, your people you bring into this business are just trying to dream and taste a little bit of what you have. And you have to decide, what are you going to do to make sure that when you go to bed at night, you've done everything you can to help them, to help feed them, to help give them something to encourage them to get to this event. There were a dozen of you here less than 30 days. Why aren't there? I know you've recruited more than that in the last 30 days. Where's the rest? Did you give them something to taste to get them here to this event, to where they could start realizing their dreams as well? Remember, I told you I was going to challenge you a little bit, because you recruit a lot of people, but how many of you left behind? The guys in the tan uniforms are Iraqis. The one right in front of the vehicle, the shorter one, those are the guys I was talking to when they were talking about dreaming. And I said to him, wow, this sounds like back home. This is what we do for a living. In the Army, we care so much about our culture and our values, but we carry it with us. I'm going to ask you, what are your values? I carry mine. You don't have to carry it. On the back, I have a soldier's code. We actually sign this card so that I'm constantly reminded of what my values are. My values are loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. And if you look at the first letters of all those words, it spells leadership. In the Army, we don't believe in all vowels, so there's no vowels missing in there, right? But we spell pretty darn good, and we came up with leadership. We believe in those values so much. The reason why I was able to go outside the wire with kids that were 19 and 20 years old, I put my life in their hands. My life was in their hands, guys. I am not joking. And it didn't matter if they were from my unit or not. I knew they had the same values that I did. They carried the same card. Been in 25 years and I got this silly card with me. But this silly card means everything to who we are. What are your values with your base shop? Do you talk the talk? Do you walk the walk? Do you just read a book and say, hey, I read a cool book yesterday? We should all read, I get it. But don't read the book and then start practicing it the next day. It's like, geez, are you serious? All of a sudden, because how long does that last? About a week or two and you're done. I've seen people do that. You read books and you study so that it becomes a part of who you are. You take those nuggets and you absorb those. They need to become who you are. Okay? That's why you read and you keep educated. That's why I go to Joint Forces School. That's why I do those things. It just becomes part of who I am. I don't walk around and say, guess what I'm in? Or guess what I learned? No, you absorb as you go. You absorb at these events. This was some of the opulence. This was a typical palace in the middle of Baghdad. This was the kind of opulence that they lived in prior to the regime change. Look at the size of that chair. That chair, by the way, in case you don't know, is about the size of a couch. then some. A warrior ethos. We have an ethos. Okay, this is how serious we are about this. That's me on your left, my right. I'm the one without the strap across my chest because he's still got his weapon on his back. Mine's on my side. That's my boss in the middle. Behind us, the cross swords. That's sort of Saddam's version of the Olympic Stadium. This was a highly valued picture opportunity. Then we found out we were getting watched and we had to throw on our body armor and get out of there. But at the time, we thought, wouldn't that be, remember we had just gotten there, we're like, hey, what a cool shot, you know, and they were like, whoops, kind of being watched, let's get going, all right? And what happens is you say to yourself, your warrior ethos, I will always place the mission first. Think about your business. I will never accept defeat. Never, what do we always say? Never what? Never quit. I can't tell you how many CEOs I know that'll tell you, you know, you'll have a couple rock stars that made CEO in 2 years. You'll have a bunch that says, I was in the business 5 years before I even got going. You know who's a good example? John Pham. He'll tell you he was in the business for years before he even really got it going. Now look at him. Never quit. I will never quit. I will never leave a fallen comrade. Guys, I'm going to tell you something. We came back with everybody we went over there with. Woo! Now, some of them came back a little differently, I will tell you. And the guy was in that picture, the first picture, but I'm not obviously going to point him out. Some guys struggled. We had to take his weapon away, and he came back without a weapon. When you take away a soldier's weapon, you're basically saying to them, I can't trust you outside the wire. But we did not give up on him. By the time we were done, he was fully functional. We took the weapon away for a reason, but we didn't give up on him. We didn't quit on him. And we brought him back with us. And to this day, he stays in touch with me. He thanks us every day for not giving up on him. So you think to yourself, how do you not give up? How is it you recruit so many people and so many of them aren't here anymore? Some of them, you gotta let them go. I get it. Some of them, though, did you try everything you could to keep them in this business, or did you leave them behind? Because they won't be helping their family, and they won't be helping other families in this business. What are we here to do? Help families. The first family is your own, right? There's nothing wrong with saying that. It's what you're in the business for. This is the aerial view. We flew a lot in Blackhawks. It's kind of an aerial view of the area, the lakes. This just kind of gives you an idea. This is my view for like 18 months. This is what we did. Looks like a pretty simple picture. The city, you see all those roads on the sides and the front, all littered with IEDs. We had kids that did not come back after they took some of these convoys. This is a picture of the palace from overhead, the opulence. Are you here for yourself to build something like that? Or are you here for your people, the ones who built that? That's what you got to ask yourself. You can enjoy the riches that come with the business, but did you leave anybody behind to get there? This was one of my views. The first time I was in a Black Hawk, it's a 50 cal. And it's quite an experience when all of a sudden the Black Hawk tilts, that thing fires, and you realize, whoops, something just happened. That's not how I thought it was supposed to happen, right? And they would say, don't worry, sir, threat neutralized, moving on. And these kids are 19, the kids flying the Black Hawks are 20-something, 30, just like that. Believe me, when these kids go home and they're 19, they're not hanging out in the mall with their buddies anymore. They don't know how to do that. They come back extremely humble and they're 19 going on 28. Extremely professional people. And I say kids, that's men and women. Leadership requirements model. We have attributes. A leader of character, a leader with presence. When you come into the room, do they know who you are? Do you have to announce yourself? Hi, I'm an SMD. I'm really cool. You should look up to me. Hi, I'm a CEO. I'm really cool. You should look up to me. leaders come into the room and you look at them and say, that's somebody, I'm going to find out who that is. You see what I'm saying? That's somebody, I'm going to find out who that is. Leader with presence, leader with intellectual capacity. Keep studying the business. People like Jeff, Mike, all these guys you saw up here on stage last night, they're always studying the business. I was giving a talk once, and Greg Kapp, who's been in the business forever, came up to me and said, man, I took 2 pages of notes. Always study the business. You are never too good to study this business. What are your core competencies? Attributes is what a leader is. Competencies is what you do. You lead, you develop, you achieve. Does that not sound like you in your base shop? You and the teams and people you bring into the business? You lead them, you develop them, and you achieve together. I only put that in there because we had night vision goggles, and I just thought that was a cool photo. That's a Humvee through night vision goggles late at night. This is the middle of Iraq. Now, one thing about the Army guys is we don't get into taking pictures very much. I'm actually showing you a lot of pictures because we didn't take many more. It's not like when you're in combat, you're not like, oh, hang on a second, let me, no, that stuff, right? And we didn't have iPhones, so I had like a little dinky camera. But I wanted to capture the essence of why we were there. Here's in our typical Iraq. These are very humble settings, don't you think? They're sitting there burning stuff. This is where he lived. Look at these kids. Now, what I want you to do, I don't know if you can see my clicker. You see this little girl? Can you see my green clicker? Look at the little girl in the little yellow shirt. If you look really close, she's got the biggest smile in the world on her face. But look at what she's surrounded by. But she's surrounded by that and filled with hope. Surrounded by that and filled with dreams. Surrounded by that and filled with the promise of what tomorrow can bring. Do you have the same experience in this business? This little girl, we used to give them candy and stuff to kind of get them to associate with us as friends, not foes. This little girl and all those kids, just as happy as you can be when we walked by, because it signified something in their future, what their lives could be one day. I'll never forget that. Traits. Everybody should have traits. Bearing, courage, decisiveness, dependability. Read through these: judgment, justice, knowledge, loyalty, tact. Unselfishness, initiative, integrity. By the way, leadership can be lonely. Sometimes I have to dial it down. You have to know your audience. Whether it's the home office or the field or at a church function or on the soccer field, make sure your intensity sort of matches the environment. What is it you're trying to accomplish? None of this, I am who I am, I'm from New York, so this is the way I am. No. Figure out who your audience is. Dial into your audience. Dial into the cultures. Dial into where you're going, okay, with your teams. You have to have your own, what we call microculture. The macroculture is WFG. The microculture is your teams, who you are, what you're about, what your traditions are. This is us walking downtown. I'm in that picture. Just look at the surroundings. There's not much to it. These guys are all rebuilding themselves from the ground up, and we're there to help them. And as you can see on the side, they're all just curious. And what we were doing is we were there to meet with the local imams and the local, basically the local city officials, okay, the clergy, the city officials who ran the place. It's kind of like the local, trying to relate it to, it's kind of like, you know how every family has sort of their matriarch, patriarch, like grandma, grandpa, everybody goes to grandma, grandpa's house, and they come from all states away to go there. That's kind of what we were doing to visit, because you got to get their buy-in from the top first before you're going to do anything else. Okay, this is a picture. Not everything goes well. This is actually a picture I'm not sure my wife has ever seen. She's in the back. But I wanted to share it with you guys. When you talk about loyalty, duty, selfless respect, commitment to your base shop team, you remember that little cute little room I showed you? This is what it looks like after it gets hit by a rocket. Fortunately, we were not there. This is what we came back to. This one was next to mine. This gentleman had left 20 minutes before this happened. So when you look at this, you say to yourself, what are you willing to do to keep people in this business? What is your struggle every day? What is it you're trying to accomplish? You know, you have struggles. I told this guy up here, I said, stay up here, brother. You know, WFG's a struggle too. Don't you take bullets every day? From your own family sometimes. Yeah, what have you got yourself into? What is that all about? And it just goes from there, right? You're taking bullets, you're like, choo, choo, you know? Some of them are emotional. Once in a while, probably, I don't know. I mean, it gets pretty intense. I've watched it. Dial it in. You're a leader. Over there, this is what we faced. This was mine. I was lucky. These were shrapnel from the explosive device. We were not there. We were on mission. That's what it looks like after a rocket hits your house. At least we don't have to worry about that here. But think about the intensity of the operating environment we're in, and wonder, now you know why we're so loyal. Those guys standing up here, we would do anything for each other. Anything for each other. Anything. Ask any veteran. That's how you should look at it when you're in the business together. That was me after a mission looking rather haggard that day. I don't know who took that shot and sent it to me, but I had just come off a flight and I was bone tired. You can see all that gear I had to wear, backpack, everything. Whenever we left with weapons. We had pistols, rifles, ammo. I was always, usually with officers, they say, sir, step away from the weapon system. So you got young kids that'll handle all that. But I'm going to tell you, when I went out, I was like, look, man, I tell you what, if something happens, someone's at least going to be hurting when I'm done, because I had enough ammo to last like 3 days on me. But remember, the key is, it wasn't about gunfighting. We did everything we could not to do that. We were there for the people. We were there for that Iraqi general I was just telling you about. We were not going to give up on him. Thoughts, words, deeds, habit. I had a command sergeant major that told me once, sir, this was on my plaque when I left my last unit. I was a battalion commander. I almost cried when he gave me this, and I'm a tough guy, right? Keep us in your thoughts, sir. Keep our memory alive with the words you say. Lead us by your deeds, now and in the future. And remember that excellence is the product of your habits. So write down thoughts, words, deeds, habits. That's what he preached to me. Thoughts, words, deeds, habits. It's in my head every day. I don't care if I'm in a business meeting or at a field event, or dealing with my home. Remember, you can't be successful in life with the families you help if you ain't helping your own family, guys. Work on yourself first. Work on your relationships first. Work on your relationship with your wife, your spouse, your kids. Work with it at home first before you can ever help a family. That's being a Black Hawk. These are some guys we worked with. These are mechanics. Look how proud they are. These are the guys that just put that engine in the Humvee I was telling you about. Look at the smiles on their face. You know, when they put that engine in that Humvee, they were helping their family too, because they were giving themselves hope for a future. They looked at that. That's all they were doing, is put an engine in a Humvee. Same group, working on the vehicle. Don't be a 60% soldier. You can read this, but I'm going to read what I underlined. In the Army, we have what we call a 60% soldier. Are you a 60% soldier? As your 60%, you ready for this? Soldiers are promoted because they give 200% 7 days a week, not 60% 4 to 5 days a week. Soldiers deserving of promotion must be already setting the example. You should already be setting the example for your base shop. They must do push-ups and sit-ups for the full 2 minutes, not get up after a minute and a half. I get challenged every day. My son's an ROTC cadet. We went working out together, and he's like, hey, Dad, let's go work out together. I said, okay, son, let's go do this. So I decided I've been in 25 years, right? I can hang with this kid, no problem. So I decided to go working out with him, and afterwards, I realized, after I threw up a couple of times, that I probably should be in better shape. So I've started on a recent commitment to get back to where I was a few years ago, because I'm going to run a marathon with my son, and I'm going to show him that this old man can keep up with him. And what we might do, I'm in my 40s, and he's a punk. I mean, he's 18, he's a stud. In 2 minutes, he stopped after 100 push-ups. Tried doing 100 push-ups in 2 minutes. And he stopped and got up and said, yeah, I'm good. I was like, all right, we rounded. He is not going to be a 60% soldier. By the way, we might come back to Nashville and do that rock and roll marathon. I think you guys have here. I don't know if they still call it the rock and roll marathon. I think it's the end of April. They must do push-ups and sit-ups for 2 full minutes, run as hard as they can. Always better than their last time. They can concentrate to shoot expert. After all, who will train tomorrow's expert? Today's marksman? If you don't shoot expert, you're what we call a marksman. That means you're barely qualified. If somebody says, yo, what's up, I'm a marksman, look at him and say, yo, what's up? I know that means you're barely qualified. It goes marksman, sharpshooter, expert. Remember that tip. Who would lead their teams in squats to PT? The guy who scored 180. 180 is 60% for all 3 events. That's minimum standard. As your 60% soldier defends your perimeter, he's only good for 36 seconds of the final 1 minute of attack. He has only hit 6 out of 10 incoming enemy soldiers. Is that the guy you want next to you? He only remembers 60% of his training. Check this out. Let's hope part of that 60% is the first aid you needed on the battlefield. Does that not hit home? Is it good enough to be minimum standard in this business? Do you think you need to do more than that?
Yeah.
Do you think you need to keep that fire in your belly? Absolutely. Leave no one behind. Now wrap it up. Leave no one behind, guys. Leave nothing and no one behind. Leave it all on the battlefield. No fetal position is what we call it. Don't be crawling up into no fetal position and saying, I quit. We had a couple do that. We said, fine, you're staying back. Let others succeed and you will by default. Leadership is exhausting. Give yourself a break sometimes. Don't be one of these guys that says, I always work, I never take a break. Take a break. Rejuvenate. Study your craft. Learn, never be satisfied. Trust but supervise. You see that picture? That's a memorial ceremony. My team made it back. Some of the bigger team did not. This is us saluting coffins. I was reminded of this memorial every day I left. That TV screen was flashing to kids who did not make it back. These were kids we knew. The boots and the helmet and the rifle is symbolic of a memorial that we set up. Who is in your foxhole with you? Have you earned the team's trust? Would they do what it takes for you? Remember, don't leave something behind on your battlefield in this business. Don't regret your failure to act. Don't leave families behind. Don't leave your family behind. Don't quit. And be here for the person on your left and the person on your right. Enjoy your day.